Well, a fascinating start to the Tillotson T4 Nations Cup final rotation then. We dodged the rain for the moment. It could still hit us here at Valencia, but in the T4 Minis, a 1, 2, 3 for Team GB. Can you believe it? And for all of the drivers to get it, Logan Rolfe, the man who wasn't even sure he could make it out here after they had such a horrendous tragic incident happen to them with their trailer getting broken into and all his race equipment essentially being pinched, and the trailer with it as well. I mean, what a tragic state of events for Logan Rolfe, who obviously had to have a massive amount of support from people to even get here in the first place. For him to then come through and win the T4 Mini final in that flamboyant style, that's what fairy tales are made of.
It certainly is. You could not ask for a more poetic ending to the mini final than for Logan Rolfe from, let's not forget it, 6th on the grid, starting on the outside, charging his way up and defeating the likes of Camphouse, Moknatsakar, Jack Harney, who's been so consistent, and even the fast-starting Senna McLaughlin really put him into a position where he had to work for that result. A fantastic effort by the young Briton, and one that he can be very, very proud of indeed.
Right, that's only part one of this 4-part bout for the T4 Nations Cup in the finals. Now we move in to the T4 Junior. Finally, we come to the configuration where only the top 36 drivers remain, and it's going to be very tricky to find out who's going to get the victory. And this time, it's an all-Dutch front row. Stijn Hansen versus Ronan Camphouse to turn one, with a whole cast of superstars to cheer them out. Let's give them a big hand, ladies and gentlemen, as the T4 Juniors make their way out onto the starting grid after what has been an absolutely incredible week. Your T4 Junior Heroes 2025. This grid is going to be very competitive indeed. The Dutch pair, Stijn Hansen and Ronan Camphouse, the American Derek Vorgo, the Brazilian Paulo Willeman, the Spanish lad Jaromir Jakubov, and the Dutchman Damian Beganovic, hoping that he can have slightly better luck than his brother Jason. Riley Bishop of the UK, ever the fighter, Joey Kearney of the Republic of Ireland, and then an all-Dutch row 5 from Toys van Huys and Rick Corporal, the Czech racer Jakob Wonderczek, the Guatemalan Fernando Weiler, the Filipino Marcus Ryan Alamo, the Irishman Cavan Hayes, from all the way back on the 8th row of the grid, the plucky British pair of Finlay Lyons and Ralphie Branscombe, then Billy Clancy from Keenan Duplessis, Pierre Carnet and Tees Hermus, with Martin Poor, Ivan Koptiev, Harry Ward, Fionn English, Ferenc Cavesi, Riley Parks, Andre Novak, Julian Larman, Ashton Pearson, Joey Kearns, Valentina Helena. Adela Brusova does make it through to the final. She was not sure if she was going to make it, but 2 ladies make it through to the junior final in the end. Rem Schmidt, David Kodiaka, Ben O'Keefe and Victor Navarro of Mexico taking up the place at the back end of the field.
And it has to be pointed out, after the superheats, Bishop and Lyons taking a 1-2 finish, so be on the lookout for Riley Bishop starting in 7th, and as well Finlay Lyons starting a further 8 positions behind him in 15th. So 2 Britons to watch out for in this heat, although they're going to have a real job to overtake the so far dominant Stijn Hansen. As we take a look at the 224 machine lining up on the grid, being piloted by the fantastic talent. I believe that might actually be the 226 machine, or indeed Ronan Camphouse in the 224. Starting slightly down the order. It's difficult to get an impression of the number when there's a reflection of those very grey clouds, as we see our race director and indeed Jamie getting ready to send these juniors on the way once and for all.
Massive thanks to everybody at RGMMC for the support of the Tillotson T4 Nations Cup. We could not do this event without them. The staff have been fantastic here at Valencia, as they always have. This is now my 8th year involved in an RGMMC event of some way, shape and form, going back to the 2018 Miami Winter Cup on this very circuit, actually. So it's still very nice that this place holds fantastic affiliation with the top level karting event like this. Stijn Hansen, pole position. What must be going through that young man's mind at the front end of the field? Knowing that you've got so many top drivers behind you, Amelie, that must be such a pressure cooker to try and deal with the enormity of this opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I think he will definitely be a lot happy once they're getting going again, and once the race is underway, because you can then relax into it, you have a plan, and just get your head down and go, I think will probably be his plan for the time being. He's got his teammates starting alongside him, so he might have someone to work with as well, and yeah.
What is that calm before the storm like when you're sat there trying to just soak everything up? It must be like being alone on a desert island. You've just got to try and gather those thoughts and try and bring them into some form of competent thought.
I know for me personally, 2 years ago, it was part of my brain was terrified about the race to come, but at the same time, it's just the real sense of achievement. You've made the final, you're in this race, and the idea of being on an international grid, and that is a very cool feeling. And the fact that, especially for Hansen, who is at the front, that will be an amazing feeling as well.
Now, you're in the senior category, but it wasn't that long ago that you were in the junior. So what is the big difference between the categories, other than the age of the drivers, obviously? Is there a little bit more of a burst for the senior than the junior?
I think there's a bit of a speed difference. Obviously, the kart's been updated this year, so I'm not really sure because I haven't experienced the junior. But I think there is definitely a speed difference. However, I think also it's the experience again, because these drivers some of them will be about to move into seniors, and there'll be a huge amount of experience for some guys, and other guys will be other people will be a bit more new to it. And then I think then you've also got and then when you move up into the seniors, they've just had a few more years racing. I think that's the main difference. And then, yeah.
Different carb as well.
Yeah, different carb.
3-minute board goes up, and that's going to be the moment that the drivers really get to be settled in. They will almost be left alone now. Just one mechanic with them, of course, at all times. There is young Ralphie Branscombe getting himself ready to go. Such an amazing amount of silverware in his trophy cabinet, even at such a young, tender age. He's done so much great work, particularly in the world of Honda Cadet. You can see how rough the weather's been this week, in the last couple of weeks. Some of those flags definitely need updating before 2026. They've taken quite a pummeling through the wind and the rain over the last couple of days. So it could be very interesting to see how the updates are coming. The atmosphere, what I love about this Tillotson T4 Nations Cup final, yes, there is pressure, yes, there is tension, but there's also still that semblance of fun. There is that enthusiasm still. People are here having a good time, enjoying themselves and loving the life that they're living. This is exactly what karting is supposed to be about, Simon.
It certainly is, and we can see all the drivers now. This is one of those moments where you sort of wish you almost weren't there. The butterflies in your stomach, the nerves, the anxiousness that some of these drivers will be feeling, the weight of expectation that these drivers often put on themselves. It really does drive you into a place where you have to be so mentally resilient in order to handle that pressure. And you can really see even just the physiology and the way that the drivers are holding themselves in the karts. Some of them with their visors down in full focus mode, and then you have the likes of Ronan Kamphaus on the outside of the front row, sort of sitting there nice and relaxed, visor open, playing with his gloves, just sort of waiting for the start to happen. And I think that's a real differentiating factor, and I'm not sure, would you agree with me on this, Amelie? That is one of the differences between the goods and the greats in karting.
I think it's a bit difficult to tell, to be honest, but I think at the same time every driver will have a different way to get their head in it. And yes, I think karting, as much as it's a physical game, it's also a mental game, and it's keeping your head in it for a long time, because these drivers will have been waiting for quite a long time now to get to the final. They'll know where they're starting, but it's watching the other heats, and the nerves will have been building from then, watching their teammates, watching everyone else do it. And I think the waiting around as well for the heats to start is just gets in your head, and it's just I think the best drivers are the ones that can just keep their head, keep their focus, and just go for it from there.
Typical shout in my left ear from none other than Logan Rolfe, who's literally just got out of the kart and is immediately going into Team GP supporter mode to make sure that everybody else gets the support they need. That's the other thing I love about the Tillotson T4. It's such a brethren of speed here. Everybody just wants to help everybody, even your rivals from other countries. Nobody likes seeing somebody in jeopardy onto the sidelines. I've seen people rush to help other drivers in their karts when they've got a technical difficulty before they head out, or when they're in the holding area. This is about people who have the same mindset. They want racing to be a one-for-all and all-for-one attitude, and that's what Tillotson T4 is. Stijn Hansen and Ronan Campoys on the front of the grid then, from Derek Wargo and Paolo Wieleman, Jaromir Arkhipov and Damian Beganovic, then Riley Bishop and Joey Kearney, from Toys van Huis and Rick Corporal, Jakob Bondacek and Fernando Wheeler, Marcus Ryan Alamo and Kevin Hayes, from Findlay Lines and Ralphie Branscombe. Then it is Billy Clancy along with Keenan Duplessis, Pierre Carnet and Dize Amos from Martin Poor and Ivan Koptiev, Harry Ward and Fionn English. Then it is Fenner Gavesi and Riley Parks, Andre Novak and Julian Larman from Ashton Pearson, Joey Kearns, Valentina Helena and Adela Prisova, the two female racers in our field, Rem Schmidt, David Koliaka, Ben O'Keefe and Victor Navarro. And I'm a little bit nervous, Simon, going into this one at that cloud cover. It's looking even thicker than it was for the T4 Mini.
It certainly is, and those clouds which were further away to the west of the circuit now seem to have spanned over its entirety out towards Valencia city itself, and so a dark blanket covers the Kartodromo Valencia, but it will not dampen our spirits. 42.5 kilometers of junior racing has taken place so far this weekend, and we are about to finish off the final 17,000 meters over this final 12-lap affair.
Let's make it happen from an all-Dutch front row, then USA, Brazil, Spain, the Netherlands, UK and Ireland. We're green for the T4 Junior Final 2025. No worries for Stijn Hansen off the start. Wargo's going to go with him. Can Campoys hold himself to the outside line without losing too much ground? He's going to drift wide. There's a big spin amongst the top 10. Karts going everywhere. At least 13 or 14 karts involved. Adela Brusova yet again cannon fodder in someone else's accident. And there's more drama. Round to turn 2. That's Campoys. That is Ronan Campoys, I do believe. No, sorry, that is, my apologies, that is the other Dutchman in the mix there. That is Rick Corporal. So Toys van Huis got caught up in that. So did Jaromir Arkhipov. So many of the big names. So we need to figure out who's still in the mix. Very similar to what we saw from the T4 Mini opening lap. But Stijn Hansen and Ronan Campoys are still there. Up to the third position, that looks like Derek Wargo still in the mix. In fact, he's now second, my apologies. So we've lost Wieleman, Arkhipov, Beganovic again, Kearney, Van Huis, Corporal, and it looks like Martin Poor in the mix of that as well. So many big names gone. What a disaster for the start of T4 Junior.
Huge drama then at the start of this race. Thankfully, everyone getting going once again, although some towards the back of the pack, as we see Ronan Campoys trying to make a move up the inside of Derek Wargo. Not going to work out for him at this stage of the race. It is much better to just settle down and give us commentators a chance to have a quick breath, as everyone attacking the curbing on the chicane, and up the inside goes that's Riley Bishop. Riley Bishop with a cracking start, already up 4 positions from his starting place, so keeping himself out of trouble, making his way up to the front. Findlay Lions also with a fantastic start, gaining 10 positions on the opening lap. What did I say? You cannot count them out as they continue this battle at the front of the field for second position.
So many drivers dropping positions in that incident. Wieleman, Duplessis, Bonacek, Beganovic, Kearney, Branscombe, also English, Novak, Van Huis, Arkhipov, Corporal and Martin Poor. So many unfortunate souls there in the middle of all of that. As through comes Stijn Hansen to the lead from Wargo, Bishop, Campoys and Findlay Lines. Here comes the move for the lead. Derek Wargo, the American, going to take on the charge, and Bishop's going to try and go with him. He actually gets the move because Wargo goes wide. Bishop goes from third to first in a heartbeat, and all of a sudden the hopes of the UK, which were looking thin on the edge before the start of this race, are looking glorious. It's like the gates of Valhalla have opened up for them again.
And Stijn Hansen is not too familiar with this feeling of having to look at the back of another kart, as we see round the outside a battle emerging, and that is Ronan Campoys managing to make his way past Wargo, I do believe, and indeed Findlay Lions following him through. A little bit of a push there perhaps from Lions into the braking zone of turn 10. Will there be a cutback manoeuvre? No, everyone just settling down at this stage of the race. That battle for third position is ultimately settled for the moment, although it is only a matter of seconds until it suddenly reignites.
Can you believe the drama in this one already, as the grey clouds that came over in the lunch break are like the racing gods racing to Great Britain's aid, as up comes Bishop in front of Hansen, but Steen Hansen's not done yet, folks. The Dutchman will still have an answer to Bishop without any hesitation. Kamphuis has got back in on Finlay lines, so this really is a fantastic duel now between the United Kingdom and the Netherlands in the top 4, with Wargo trying desperately to clutch at straws for the USA's hopes. They're going to hope for a really strong senior battle, but can the Netherlands bounce back on the Brit? Riley Bishop, Toys van House gets a new fastest lap from down in 32nd. He's driving angry with the red mist, so now it's just all guns blazing for Van Hoys. But what about Riley Bishop? Can he sustain the pressure from Steen Hansen?
Well, this is going to turn into a real question mark. As we have discussed previously, the Nations Cup points are decided by the top 3 drivers from each nation. Now in the minis there's already been a 1-2-3 finish for Great Britain, so another 1-2. That is going to mean that the 3 best drivers, 2 of them will have had a first place and 1 of them will have had a second. So that is a great position for the UK to be in going into the senior final, having started this round of finals only 5 points behind the Netherlands.
But watch for Steen Hansen. He is really on the gearbox now of Finlay Lines' kart. He's reeling in the British driver up front, and Kamphuis and Lines are coming for the battle too. This is going to turn into a quartet before long, with a threat of a quintet from Derek Wargo. There's a great duel going on for 6th position further back, led by Pierre Carnet, the Irishman, leading their charge. And then it's Alamo. Goodness me, some big names have really been able to surge forward as a result of the melee at turn 1. Alamo for the Philippines, Hayes for Ireland, Clancy likewise, and Fernando Weiler all the way up for Guatemala. So there's a big chance. Look back, there is the gaggle further back, and there's gestures all the way. There is the man in 6th, Pierre Carnet. Oh, and there's an issue further back. That's all gone horribly wrong for the 2-2-1, I think that is. 2-2-7, that is Keenan du Plessis. So that's South Africa's chances up in smoke for the moment. Their leading driver was Keenan du Plessis, and now he's out of the top 20. That is the 269 in trouble now. That is Steen Hansen. What has happened to Steen Hansen at the final chicane? It looks like he went for the move on Bishop, and it's all come unstuck. Steen Hansen plummets down the order. Disaster for the Dutch.
There are few words that can be used to sum up and to add to the pictures that we have seen there. Steen Hansen, who was oh so dominant, took a commanding victory in the superheats. Yesterday showed extraordinarily strong pace, indeed taking the win in the AD heat. The man from Netherlands whose hopes and dreams were being pushed forward all throughout today, the man who Team Netherlands were depending on more or less in this final, has suddenly come unstuck, got all out of shape, and now has plummeted right the way down the order, outside indeed of the top 10 it appears. In fact, I can't even locate him.
34th.
34th, plumb last. Goodness me, that is absolutely dreadful for Steen Hansen, and it is a day to forget for the Dutchman.
It's a day to forget for Team Netherlands all round by the look of it, because their hopes waned in T4 Mini. Now they're waning in T4 Junior. Only Ronan Kamphuis is really keeping their dreams alive in the top 10 here. So he's got to try and salvage something against the boy Brits. Let's see if he can work his way past Bishop. He's got Finlay Lines for company. Then Wargo, Hayes, Carnet, Clancy, Weiler. The other Dutchman in the top 10 is Tizemus. And then we have Harry Ward all the way up from 23rd into P10. Now Paolo Willemin is charging his way through. The Brazilians worked his way to 11th place. Then we've got Damian Boganovic back into 17th. Ralphie Branscom's back up to 20th. But there's so much flotsam and jetsam around this course now. It is unbelievable what we're witnessing. 5 to go, and Britain's hopes, it's as if they've had a magic spell on them. Now, interestingly enough, there has now been a warning flag for Ralphie Branscombe. That is unfortunate, because that's a 5-second penalty that cannot be appealed. Very unfortunate for the Brit, who is up to 17th again. So Branscombe, no chance, I'm afraid, of taking the victory this time. But unbelievable scenes. Amelie, you've been in some of the roughest of the rough in junior in the past in different categories. This is a particularly tough final.
Yes, definitely, especially with the crash at the start, taking out so many hopefuls. And I think it's clear to see some people have gained hugely from that, but with how the with how it's all the different trains across the track, you can just see how much it's spread out the field. And then obviously once you're at the back, it's really hard to get through the field again, especially with how evenly matched these karts are.
So Campois is driving very maturely here in second place, just hanging on behind Bishop. This is not easy to try and make the move. And there's a little bit of an issue further back as well. Another one into the barriers at the final turn. That is the Guatemalan, that is Fernando Vaila. He was having a great run up into the top 6 there briefly. So another man bites the dust in this fantastically sensational grandstand finishing final that it is going to be in T4 Junior. I still don't really know what's going to kick on between these three, but you get the sense that this is going to be a monstrous duel between the 3 men that are left up at the sharp end. Bishop, who started down in 7th, Campois, who is where he was until Lines gets the move on the inside line into 2nd place from all the way back in 15th on the grid. What a charge from Finley Lines. And now it's UK 1-2 yet again.
This really is quite exceptional. We have never seen a turnaround into the finals like what we witnessed here. And now it's the UK civil war once again. We saw these 2 drivers battling at this very corner yesterday, and it all went pear-shaped for them as they make a run down towards turn 1. There's going to be an effort round the outside by Ronan Kamphuis, who's going to try and get the cut back. What a sensational move from the Dutchman.
This is not clear cut between the 2 bits because Riley Bishop and Finley Lines do not see eye to eye. They had a bit of an issue yesterday in one of the heats, and that definitely put them in the crossfires. They've got to settle their differences and think about the big picture here. Yes, they want to go for the victory themselves, but they could lose massive points for Team UK if their rivalry turns into a fracas. Now they've got Ronan Campois splitting them once again. Bishop is going ultra defensive. He's got to sustain this for 2.5 more laps. Surely he can't hope to keep this car as wide as a Buick for this long. Up the inside comes Lines, splits them again into 2nd place, and it's him versus Bishop again. Just because they're racing for Team UK does not mean it'll be a friendly battle. Finley Lines wants this just as much as Bishop does, and Bishop's going to have to work so hard to defend. And look who's catching them. Look back. There's Derek Vorgo. He's going to become a factor soon.
Derek Vargo is going to be looking at this and thinking this is really an amazing opportunity for me to gain some points for Team USA. Indeed, he is now almost glued onto the back of this train. Defensive postures being thrown by Bishop and indeed Kamphuis, trying to go on the inside now is Finley Lines. Kamphuis has lost out hugely. Derek Vargo now up into P3 and firmly in contention for the win.
All Derek has got to do is keep his head clear and wait for these 2 to badinage, because this could be an amazing chance for Team USA to get into the victory. Bishop and Lines side by side. Wargo's lining him up, but Campois is behind him. Lines goes for the lead, stops it on the inside apex. That gives Wargo the chance to get through. In a 2nd place, Wargo has gone from nowhere to 2nd in the space of 3 laps. The American could take this, and Finley Lines knows he's there. He's spending almost as long looking back as he is looking forward. This is amazing stuff. Finley Lines now has to hold this from Wargo. Bishop now at the back behind Campois. 1 lap to go. Let's see how this is going to go. Bishop's trying to squeeze his way, so is Wargo. Bishop's round the far side. Watch for him as he tucks back in behind Campois.
This is a truly sensational last lap battle. Here comes Vargo up the inside. Can he make the move stick? No, he can't. It's very difficult to pull that move off. Now, here comes Bishop trying to make an attempt, and indeed he's secured 3rd place. But for how much longer? Not much longer is the answer. Oh my goodness me, what a move in retaliation by Kamphuis. And now the front 2 have really broken away. Finley Lines has a chance to breathe. Derek Vargo doesn't really, still chasing him down as they make their way into the final sector. Finley Lines in a fantastic display, climbing 14 positions, is set to take the victory in T4 Junior.
Magic from Kamphuis, stalwart and valiant from Derek Vargo, but can you deny the genius of Finley Lines out of the final turn from P15 to the victory? Finley Lines makes it 2 Brits in a row in T4 in the Nations Cup from 15th to 1st. What a drive from Finley Lines! The Argenti boy wonder comes to Tillotson and dominates the final 2 laps after an amazing charge all the way through from the back. He gets the thumbs up from Ronan Campois. What an amazing last lap. What an amazing last race. From 15th to 1st, Finley Lines does the impossible.
What a drive of redemption from the man who was disqualified from the first heat on a technical infringement. He pulls his way back, claws his way up to the front, gaining 14 positions. I'm not sure what that is as a percentage of the grid, but I have never once seen a comeback like that. Finley Lions has to be contender for driver of the day. In fact, driver of the weekend indeed.
What an incredible powerhouse drive from Finley Lines. Absolutely extraordinary scenes. That's 2 wins in a row now for Team GB. Amelie, I mean, we were not entirely sure how this was going to go. There were shots at victories for Team GB, but how on earth could we have predicted it would have just welcomed up like that for Team GB?
Yeah, it's definitely gone our way. I think, so Finley Lyons obviously taking that and working his way up. That was an amazing drive from him to come from that far back on the grid. And then obviously with the juniors as well. Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Absolutely amazing scenes here at the Tillotson T4 Nations Cup. Finley Lines grabbing the win. United States in second place with the T4 senior final to come. Great opportunity for Derek Wargo and the USA to take full advantage of that on the point score. Netherlands still in there with Ronan Campois in 3rd position from Bishop, with the 2 Irish drivers, Hayes and Carney, scoring well in the top 6 as well. Their hopes are still alive. And now we've got the 2 big races that will really play dividends in this T4 Nations Cup. The senior final and the senior 168. Goodness me, are we in for 2 rip-roaring shows, Simon. This is genuinely tantalising stuff to the wire now.